Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Wow Wednesday, where we share words of wisdom. Today's question that I have is: what are you wrestling with? What are you wrestling with? Okay. It's like a continuation from the last message that we discussed. Are you determined? This is another question. Are you determined to receive all that God has for you? You know, sometimes we're wrestling with things that God does not intend for us to wrestle with. Sometimes our desires and what we feel as though we're entitled to, we're wrestling with that thing. God says, I have something greater for you. That is not my plan for you. You're wrestling with something that I did not design for you to wrestle with. This was of your own doing. What are you wrestling with? That is your question for today. Are you determined to receive all that God has for you? Not what you think you should have. Sometimes what we think we should have, that's not God's best for you. That's not God's plan for you. That wasn't God's intention for you. But we have issues, just like Abraham had issues. That whole dynamic, I'm not going to even go into the discussion, but we know about that story. You know, the handmaiden, the son that wasn't promised, but we wanted to do it our way. And we thought that that was what God wanted for us. God says, that wasn't my best. That wasn't my plan. But you altered the plan because you decided that you wanted to wrestle with some things. Now you have issues. Now you're dealing with issues that you probably wouldn't have had to deal with if you just hadn't, if you just would have just listened to my voice. If you just would have consulted with me. If you just would have prayed and asked me to lead and guide you, then maybe you wouldn't have had to go through what you've gone through. But it's all right. We stumble, we fall, we make errors, you know. And sometimes, like I said, we do things our way and we want those same results that God would have given us. God said, no, 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 no. This will be a lesson. This will be a lesson for you. And but he will still love us and he will still be with us. But think about this now. We're co-laboring with him. But there's sometimes when we're not co-laboring with God. We we put God on the back seat of our life and we put ourselves in the driver's seat of our life. And then we make those decisions. We make decisions and then we don't consult with God. Matter of fact, a lot of times people don't listen to backseat drivers. Why? Because they're in the back seat. And we place God sometimes in the back seat. God says, I want to be in the driver's seat of your life because I know the plans that I have for you and I see further than what you see. If you could just only trust me. If only you can trust me. I got you. I got you where I want you. Matter of fact, my track record is impeccable. You know this. But sometimes we have to be reminded. Sometimes we have to reflect on what God has done already. If he did it before, he will surely do it again. If he's been with me back then, he surely would be with me now. He said he'd never leave me nor forsake me. So, the question again, are you determined to receive all that God has for you? If so, you have to contend with some things. Sometimes it's your own self-ambition and self-will you have to contend with, because I'm wrestling with the wrong thing. God told me one time, he said, some battles are not worth fighting for. Why? Because I picked the battle. I picked that battle. God didn't intend for me to fight in that war. He didn't intend for me to fight that battle. I picked it because I thought it was God's will for me. God says, no, that wasn't my plan for you. No. I don't know where you were going with what you were doing and thinking, but that wasn't my plan for you. I have a better plan. I have a bigger plan. I have a plan that will prosper you, give you much success, you know. And so, like I said, you got to contend with some things. You got to come to the realization that I may not know it all, but I know who knows it all. God. So if I'm steadily and constantly consulting with him, he will direct my path, because what? My steps are ordered by the Lord. I'm giving him access to my life. I'm giving him the keys to this car, and I'm allowing him to drive me where he desires for me to go. Because see, he knows the plan. He knows the route. He knows the destination. If only we could just trust him. If only you can just trust God. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Let me read this scripture, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm going to try to tie it together here. Genesis chapter 32, verses 26 through 28, it says, and he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. What are you wrestling with? Now, there are promises in the word of God. There are promises, but sometimes we have to contend. We have to wrestle with some things in order, for those promises to be fulfilled in our lives. We have to wrestle. Your blessing, you got to wrestle for your blessing. Sometimes you got to wrestle for your healing. You have to wrestle for your deliverance. Why? Because we talked about warfare. We've talked about warfare before. So we know that the enemy desires to first of all steal. So you know he does not want to give up you. He doesn't want to give up his rights to you. And then he does not want you to have access to what God has for you. So he's wrestling along with you for that thing. And sometimes even with Jacob, he wrestled with the angel. He knew what God promised him. He knew what he was entitled to. And he says, I'm not letting you go till you bless me. God, I'm not letting this word go until you bless me. You promised in your word that the blessings belong to me and my family. You promised me healing. You promised me deliverance. You promised me prosperity. I'm holding on to your promises and I'm not letting them go. I'm not letting these promises go. I'm going to keep holding on to them. I'm going to keep reminding you of these promises until the manifestation of your word is being released over my life, over my family, over my ministry, over my business, over my children, over whatever it is that I own and or possess. Because I trust you, God. And I trust that you are a man that you should not lie. I mean, you are not a man, I'm sorry, that you should lie. And so that is where we are. That is where we are. And, in Joshua, God told him to go in and possess the land. Yes, there will be time God will tell you, look, this is what I have for you. Now you have to go in and wrestle with that thing. You have to go in and be bold and be courageous and fight. You have to do that. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm bagging you 100%. But you're going to have to walk this thing. There's a blessing on the other side of it. What are you wrestling with, and are you determined to receive all that God has for you? What God has for you is for you. It's for you. You rest and assured He has it for you. Your name is on it. Your name is on it. And can't no one else have access to it but you. So He's promised you some things. He wants you to have those things. Don't ever think that God does not want you to have what He promised you. Don't ever believe that lie. Because the enemy will try to plant those seeds of doubt, worry, despair, depression. He would try to plant those seeds in your mind to cause you to believe that God does not want you to be blessed. He does not want you to prosper. He does not care about you. He does not love you. But he's a lie. God says, my word is true. My word is true. So, God's telling us, go in, possess the land. Go in. You got to endure some things. But after you endure, you will receive. You will receive the promises. After you endure, got to go through some things. It's a hard press sometimes, but that's okay. We're not by ourselves. We are never alone. We know that in the end, God is going to get the glory out of our lives, because He said, if you suffer with Him, then you will reign with Him. Sometimes God has to bring us to that place of humility when we're dying to self. We are the sacrifice. We are the sacrifice. We have to die to who we are in order for God to elevate us, in order for God to take us to that next level. We got to die to us. God said, there's too much of self in you. You got too much self in you. I want my glory to be revealed through you. So that means you got to die to self. Because we get a little selfish and we get a little prideful. God said He resists the proud, but He gives grace to the humble. When you go through, when you wrestling, you're brought to a place of humility. You are being humbled in the process. Because when you wrestling, that self is going to yield. That self is going to give in and say, Lord, not my will, but let thine will be done. Lord, I give it all up for you. Lord, I'm tired of wrestling. Hey, you can have it. My life is in your hands. My life is in your hands. So this is our Wild Wednesday for today. I pray that there was something that was said that has encouraged and inspired you in some way to say, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to believe God. I'm going to trust God. I know He has a plan for my life. I know this is not it. I know it's not over. My best days are ahead of me. And God has more in store for me. So I'm going to hold Him to His word and the promises that He has made over my life, over my family, over my children. So this is our Wild Wednesday for today, you guys. Take it, apply it to your life. We will see you all again for another Wild Wednesday. Bye-bye now.